Welcome! Today we're going to walk you through sketch drawing for beginners. Sketching is one of the most fun, freeing parts of drawing. It takes more and more discipline to lock a drawing in as it progresses, to refine every single little line and aspect. Sometimes you just want to let loose and express yourself. In order to do that effectively, you'll need to know some basics. Sketch drawing basics. You don't need to have an idea in mind, but it really helps. Smaller sketches are somewhat easier but will lack detail. Bigger sketches are sometimes necessary for bigger ideas. Since sketches are quick, you can fill a page with ideas, big and small, expand your canvas, or spend more sketchbook pages as your idea grows. Sketches are great for experimentation, but you need a balance. If you second guess your initial work or play around too much, you may end up ruining your sketch. It's better to try drawing another sketch than to fiddle too long with any single sketch. Now, line quality shouldn't be your main concern, but if you're creating too much chaos and making too many marks, your eye will get confused and so will your hand. Try to keep things loose but succinct. Sketch drawing exercises. Alright, now with those guidelines, let's set you up for success when it comes to sketch drawing for beginners with these exercises. Number 1. Focus on one or two drawing fundamentals and aim to build them up while sketching. These can be things like values, edges, line types, perspective, anatomy, construction, pattern, detail, etc. I talk way more about these things in either editions of my beginner drawing course with lessons and examples. Number 2. Focus on studying one subject while sketching. This can be anything from rocks to rocket ships. Just grab a folder of references and work your way through them, sketch after sketch. Final sketchy thoughts. Remember that sketches can be amazing to look at, but many artists don't consider them finished work. Sketches are often preliminary, which means they're rough ideas for more finalized and polished pieces. Sketches are where you work through many potential paths and parts in order to land on the best solutions for a finished illustration or the like. If you want to know how to clean your sketches up, I recommend Chapter 4 of my beginner drawing course 2nd edition, link in the description box. Sketch drawing demo. Alright, so what about all the stuff I just said is applicable when you're actually sketching? The answer is absolutely all of it. You should take everything that I say at face value and not question it at all. You should simply implement it and not think, just draw. You should just listen to what I say all the time with no filter, because I am clearly the drawing master and you are just a mere drawing student. But in all sincerity, before I get myself canceled, which honestly these days would not take much, I'm just here sketching out a sort of Foyne mage girl. She is inspired by the Black Mage from Final Fantasy. I've always loved the design as it has been iterated upon throughout the different numbers in the series. I can't say that I've played them all. I just don't have time for gaming, really, and it makes me sad. But here is that sketch, which doesn't make me sad. So, just sort of a Black Mage inspired girl with a cool moon behind her. And you notice I'm not cleaning any of these up to a great degree. It is merely a free, gestural, expressive process. Just like I am riffing right now. I did not script this part of the video. And again, it's just a fun way to get in some extra demonstration. So this is a pose that I've drawn a lot from life when I was in college, so I have a pretty good idea of the way that the proportions sit, the way that the pose kind of sits, and how perspective affects it. I recommend that if you're going to do a lot of life drawing of figures, it's very gestural unless you have a clear, reason for being in a figure drawing class where you can work with the same model for more than 4 minutes or more than a mere glimpse, and that will help you a ton in your figure drawing journey. But the sketching part is really important too, because it's going to give us the ability to set ourselves up for some cool ideas, which we can then refine later using other drawing techniques and abilities. So a big part of what I'm doing here, I'm getting a little bit picky about the face because I don't want to mess with it after I am done with the pose. I just want a cool girl standing in a kind of epic action movie poster-esque way, like she just showed up on the scene and she's about to say some really cool line and then probably kick somebody in the chest, that kind of thing. Anyway, it's really nice to have this sketchy look, and it's something that a lot of artists strive for, but it's not something that you really need to strive for. It's something that just evolves naturally as you're sketching. You could liken it to jazz improv, where people are breaking down the nuances in the jazz improv as though Some of them are really deliberately put in there, but when you're just getting into a flow state and actually working in a medium that you have a lot of experience in and you understand the fundamentals of, then the technical jargon that you're finding to describe these things really just sort of happens very naturally. So I'm just doing this because this is how I learned to do gesture drawing. And the gesture drawing is what helps me to get all these little things in place as far as the proportions and the placement, the pose, some of the character elements. And sometimes it's nice to have a really readable face, just because it helps give the sketch a little more gravity, a little more appeal. And so now we have her there, and now we're going to get into the last drawing of this demonstration, which is going to be a really beefy dude with sort of a funny mask. And again, what I like to do when I'm sketching is I just try to imagine the forms in 3 dimensions. I want them to be very, very readable in a volumetric sort of sense. And so that helps me to visualize through the forms. And obviously I've done some anatomy studies. My anatomy for my head is not perfect by any means, but it is pretty good because I've taken the time to break down these muscles and the way that they bend and twist and how they interact and how they mesh with the bones. And so all of that good stuff helps me to do this kind of thing for my head. I don't really have to look up reference. It's really helpful when you get past the sketch phase for the nuances and making sure that things are super correct if they need to be. Otherwise, the sketching is just the most freeing, fun element. So you can see you got a giant dude who is really interestingly proportioned in just on the same page as the fighter girl. You can see the scale is very intriguing. Like maybe she'd be fighting him in a tournament and he's got like this crazy smiley mask on, but you know he's like a really bad dude or something. So that just goes into some character design principles, just like we're talking a little bit about anatomy as well. So all of these things I have courses for. If you go to the beginnerdrawingcourse.com, I have a character course, I have a simple anatomy course, and it really helps to get your abilities in these different areas up. Like I talked about focusing on one thing when you're sketching. You can focus on just anatomy sketches. You can grab just a bunch of different poses and throw them in a folder and work through them sketch after sketch until you start to understand anatomy better. You can do the same thing with just poses you like. And I would recommend drawing poses probably 3-4 times before moving on to the next one. Anatomy, you'll kind of pick it up more naturally, but if you're working from your head with poses, it's a lot better to have the poses cemented. You know, you wouldn't just play a chord once on a guitar and be like, I know that chord. You would keep playing it and you'd switch into other chords so that you can know how to switch and do chord progressions. And it's really similar when it comes to drawing poses in particular, because then you want to be able to draw the pose 4 times so that you know how to find the pose from your head very quick without a lot of noodling and fussing and erasing and redrawing. And that wraps up today's video. I want to thank you for drawing, for liking, subscribing, all that good YouTube stuff. It's been an honor to be able to show you the sketching process and some of these principles and basics that can help you evolve your art and give you that artistic ascent you're looking for. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and happy drawing.